The countdown has begun for US President's tariff plans. European Union President Ursula von der Leyen says she hoped to avoid a trade war with the US. But Brussels has a strong plan to respond to any tariffs imposed by Washington. The statement comes at the eve of Trump's tariff implementation on April 2nd, which is tomorrow. Now, according to the European Union chief, the bloc holds a lot of cards that can be leveraged to negotiate and, if needed, push back against Trump's plan to impose sweeping reciprocal tariffs on all trading partners.
Our objective is a negotiated solution. But of course, if need be, we will protect our interests, our people and our companies. And I want to be very clear on the aim of our response. We think that this confrontation is in no one's interest. The flow of goods and services between us, the United States and Europe, is nearly balanced. Of course, we are willing to work on the trade balance of goods as well as on the trade balance of services. This is the largest and most prosperous trade relation worldwide. We would all be better off if we could find a constructive solution. At the same time, it also has to be clear. Europe has not started this confrontation. We do not necessarily want to retaliate. But if it is necessary, we have a strong plan to retaliate and we will use it.
Well, this comes after the US president said that he would be very kind to trading partners when he unveils further tariffs this week. Trump said the details of his reciprocal tariffs could be revealed soon.
We are going to be very nice by comparison to what they were. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us, and in some cases maybe substantially lower, but we sort of have a world obligation perhaps. But we're going to be very nice. Relatively speaking, we're going to be very kind.
The Wall Street Journal reported Sunday that advisors have considered imposing global tariffs of up to 20% to hit almost all US trading partners. Trump said that he was not concerned that the new tariffs could push some of the United States' closest allies to work with China. He also made a big claim about India, saying he has heard that India is likely to drop tariffs substantially. New Delhi has made no official statement on dropping tariff rates.
I think I heard that India just a little while ago is going to be dropping its tariffs very substantially. And I said, why didn't somebody do this a long time ago?
The president insists that reciprocal action is needed because the world's biggest economy has been ripped off by every country in the world. Trump, who has promised Liberation Day for the United States on April 2nd, used a new term for his planned tariffs.
I think this is going to be an amazing, I call it a lot of different names, but it's really, in a sense, it's a rebirth of a country because how we could have afforded to do what we did. We help everybody and they don't help us.
Market nervousness has intensified after Trump said on Sunday his tariffs would include all countries. Earlier, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt had told reporters that the goal on Wednesday would be to announce country-based tariffs, although Trump remains committed to imposing separate sector-specific charges. Mr. Mark Brolin is a geo-economic and geopolitical strategist. He is now joining us live from London. Mr. Brolin, thank you for joining us at this hour. It's good to see you. Do you think Europe is ready or strong enough for Liberation Day, or as Trump is now calling it, the rebirth of America?
Well, I think Europe is at least a bit stronger than it was a few months ago. So in that sense, the relative position of Europe has strengthened a bit. And I think that is in the back of Europe. They are much better prepared. And it's not only that Europe is better prepared, but I think also Trump is a bit weaker at home. And I think somewhat ironically, he's the market. He wants to push himself as a market president. And I think in a way it might be a bit ironic that it might be the market response that corrects his tariff, his supposed tariff war. But I think all this, I think none of us have seen any of this. We have seen the poker game elements we have seen many times before in tariff negotiations. But the reality TV show element, that's unique Trump. So I think in a sense, he doesn't even know himself where this is going to end up. It seems like he relishes making people upset, and he just see where everything lands.
Mr. Brolin, Ursula von der Leyen did make a statement, and she said, and I think that is very interesting, she hopes for a negotiated settlement or a negotiated solution. Do you think that is foreseeable? Do you think that is the new reality that we're going to deal with?
I actually think so, yes. I think you can see almost Europe and US as an old married couple, and they can be quarreling sometimes, but at the end of the day, I mean, these rows can be very rowdy, but at the end of the day, mutual interest, that's a lot quieter, but it usually ends up in a quiet solution. So I think we might have a few more phases of the tariff bluster, but I think we already are seeing a bit of de-escalation, possibly already tomorrow, but if not, I think following a few more weeks. I think we have frantic negotiations ongoing as we speak, so I think it could be de-escalating very soon. And again, if not tomorrow, I think in a few more weeks there will be some sort of new things. I think it's in really nobody's interest to have this big war. And I think also now when Trump was mentioning India, I think if India, Europe and US could somehow unite together, and I think Trump's big goal is to sort of isolate China. If that could happen, I think that's a more likely scenario, actually, than a tariff war between the three parties I mentioned.
Mr. Mark Brolin, as we wind up this conversation, very quickly, in your own words, what do you think about Liberation Day, or now the rebirth of America?
Well, I mean, that's again, that's a big PR gimmick in a way. He does have actually a point. People are so upset about him, but sometimes there are good points to his rhetoric, and there is one that Europe has been much more protectionist than the US has been. So in that sense, there is an amount of fairness if leveling the playing field, and he actually makes a good point about that one. So that's also where it could end up. That perhaps everybody removes tariffs a bit. We have like auto parts that has been they have been much higher on EU auto parts protectionism, and if they could end up similarly between Europe and US, that's one end game as well. And I think that is one of the key points has been made from the beginning. So some of the things he's saying are actually right.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Mark Brolin, good to see you. Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you. Pleasure.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.